Hey, 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 everybody. We are live on the SideQuest, your weekly journey into the wonderful world of video games and video game culture and people being tired because we've been working a lot and it's the
Mhm.
holidays. I'm one of your hosts, the uh, one with 11 zeros Lions boy, because now we have 11 wins, my Detroit Lions. Um, to
It's crazy.
my left, your right, the black hat, Zach Quest, who's always just got the
What's up?
your beard. Don't tell JJ. Don't. Hey, lean in right now. Lean in. Lean in. Your beard's better than JJ's. Your beard's better than. Okay, you lean out.
I,
Lean out. Hey, everybody. Yeah, all
I
right. Nobody else
already,
heard that.
I already
Nobody.
knew that. You don't have
Yeah,
to.
it's true. It's true. How you doing, my dude?
Good. Just busy working, gaming. That's kind of reading, watching movies,
Oh,
just chilling.
can
But
you
busy still.
you're like close to the mic. Can you back away from the mic a little bit? You're sounding a little bit like a geek. Ah, I gotcha. I gotcha.
You
No,
got
that's
me.
good. Well, it's awesome to chat with you, my dude, and hoping your lovely holiday season is getting going. Did you pick up your Secret Santa gift yet for your side questing victim?
I'm actually ordering it right now.
Oh, nice. I have to do
Mhm.
I have to do the same thing. By the end of this week, I'll be ordering it because I have my Secret Santa person. Didn't know it's one of those things where you don't really know quite what to get somebody, even though you've like known people for years and years, and you're like,
Yeah.
what should I get this person? um, and yeah, so I was struggling a little bit, so I had to search through this person's Discord posts and Facebook posts and tweets and blue skies and whatever over the last year to kind of get an idea for
Hmm.
something. And I think I have something for this person, so I'm gonna do the ordering this week. Now, for those who missed out, sorry, you suck. Side questing
Sorry,
does
I missed it.
yeah, it's pretty fun. We always end up with some cool stuff. Corey's is still the all timer was it Pokemon My Ass edition
No, that
chest?
was Stefan, right?
Yes, he bought it for Stefan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Crazy. Yeah.
All timer. So yeah, that's fun. You can see. I don't know if you can see it behind me. Oh, my. Of course, the thing is covering it up. There it is. It's kind of weird. Oh God Almighty, Dolly doing Dolly things. There's my tree. It is a blue tree. It looks like black because
Oh,
there's no lighting in there, but it is a blue tree. For it's funny. I didn't buy it for the Lions. I bought it because it was a cool looking blue tree. But depending on how I'm feeling, it either goes Detroit Lions or Doctor Who TARDIS. So
good.
it's all good. Maybe both, the same thing. We're gonna have a shorter show this week because there really hasn't been a ton of good news, and I hate always talking bad news because there's been like layoffs and blah blah blah. So I figured let's have just a chat about some good things and then some of the games that we've been enjoying this week. And I wanted to start. I teased Zach about this in the pre-show um, that I have a bit of news that I think he would be good to talk to. And he's like, I don't know what that would be. I don't know what that would be. Well, uh, I want to preface this by
Yeah.
saying Zach is he's got some really awesome articles coming up um,
Oh,
based on that. You guys, I mean, I think the first one will probably go live in the next day or so here. Just waiting for Zach to get me a couple images, and then I've got to go in and edit and do all that fun stuff. But uh, he's got like a series, don't you, Zach? And it's really good. I went through the first pass, just kind of get the story behind it, get thematically how they're all connected. Really good. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. But it starts off with talking about. I'm not going to spoil it, but talking about a game that you've sort of kind of bounced from, and
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. So interestingly enough, the news is related to this game. And the news is that Final Fantasy XIV Mobile has finally formally been announced for mobile platforms. I don't know the exact numbers of how FF14 is doing. I know like people who are into it are just diehards. Like I've seen my friends
Yeah.
are, you know, my friends like you and other folks are just they're always into it. They're like whatever I'm doing, I can just hop into Final Fantasy 14, raid with my friends or whatever, and go from there because it's been a social game. But I wonder if it sort of hit its PC and PS5 peak in a way, and Xbox
That's
maybe I don't know.
yeah. The interesting thing is like 2 expansions ago, Shadowbringers came out.
Hmm.
So 4 years ago, and that was like the biggest like influx of players that game
Huge,
has
yeah,
ever had because it was during COVID
yeah.
and streamers were actually playing it for the first time ever. And it just got pretty like huge. And
Hmm.
that was the biggest influx of players at the time,
Wow.
which was like millions of people. They're really tight-lipped about player amount. They'll tell you how much an expansion has sold. They'll be like, this is the
Hmm.
best selling expansion, whatever. So we just thought that Shadowbringers was like the peak. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
after here, people are just gonna drop off. But with Dawn Trail, the newest expansion,
Mm.
they said it's the fastest selling and the
Wow.
best selling expansion for the game yet, which
Okay.
is kind of ridiculous 10 years deep into a game.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we finally hit our peak. So I think numbers are still really good for the
Hmm.
game. That game itself is kind of funding Square
Yeah.
Enix to do a bunch
Keeping
of
Square
stuff.
alive,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
So I just think they kind of see it as like a hey, might as well try a mobile game. It's gonna, yeah, we'll keep talking about it, but
But yeah,
I,
mobile. I mean,
I don't know.
I
Um,
it's going to be a version of Final Fantasy 14, right? I don't know how it's essentially going to be set up. They it's almost like I don't want to say a reboot, but it just talks
yeah,
about.
I mean, it is a reboot.
Yeah, no, it is. No,
Like,
it truly is. Yeah, yeah. These are some images
it's
that are hopefully popping
they're
up at
they're
some
they're
point.
changing things so it'd be easier to play on mobile. I just want to I can't really imagine how it's going to look. They're probably going to have to like trim skills and change fundamentally how the classes work and how combat works. So it's going to be interesting to see what they
Hmm.
do and like what they add to something. Like they can't add a lot because that wouldn't be smart money wise, but then
Right.
but if they cut a lot they have to add more,
Hmm.
and they already confirmed there's not going to be any gotcha or anything in it, so how are they going to make money?
You're right. You're right.
So it's just like it's just the MMO from but different server, and you have to start from the beginning. Like what makes it
Yeah.
different? Because the
Yeah.
game, I don't know if the game is out in China.
It's
Um,
supposed to soft launch pretty soon in China.
so
Yeah.
is the main like
Oh, the
the
main game?
main game? Yeah,
I don't know. I have no idea.
because
I'm checking right
if
now.
it's not, that would make sense. Oh, it has been available in China since 2014.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So
All right.
it could just be that the Chinese servers aren't that good, like as good as they want them to be, and they're like, might as well try it. I really don't know who this is for. Like,
Mhm.
it's just kind of weird. Because first of all, you're like, hey, here's a 200-hour RPG to play on your phone, which is just kind of
Right.
that's asking a lot. So I think we need more info before I can even
Okay.
like say anything, because it's like I need to see what the gameplay is, what they're doing
Mhm.
to the story, what are they adding, what's not going to be there, is it going to be subscription based, like what's the like how are they going to make money, like
Yeah.
there's just so
Yeah.
much that's just like up in the air. I
If
think
they
that the
do Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think the disappointing thing, at least for me, is the Final Fantasy 11 remake was supposed to be a mobile
Mm.
version. It was supposed to be, so they clearly canceled that to do this, which is like
Mhm.
kind of upsetting, but I get it. But if there was a game that I feel like could be revitalized and not cost as much money, it might be Final Fantasy 11. I don't know. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's just all kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm uh I mean, free to play is kind of what I'm guessing it's going to be, because that's really what mobile is in a way, right? So I'm curious how how they're going to monetize it, but also how they're going to what it's actually going to be like, because it it has the opportunity to um, bring new people into Final
Mhm.
Fantasy 14, right? Which is, I think that's part of the plan a lot of times with these mobile versions, is they'll make their money through whatever monetization stuff they do, whether you're buying clothing or whatever. But it's usually never the main game. You want people to switch over into
Yeah.
bigger a bigger subscription model based game, which is almost always on PC platforms or consoles. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
So
very
a
curious.
idea just popped into my head. So Dragon Quest 10, they
Hmm.
released the story of like the first expansion as like a
Hmm.
standalone
Oh
RPG.
yeah.
And then at the very end, you got a code to put into the main game that you could like
Oh
continue
really?
your story. Yeah. So
Hmm.
like, so at the end of the game, you get a code like, hey, if you want to continue the story, you can play the online version. Here's this
Hmm.
code, and it's like start you where you stopped, right? That could be here where they just give you the first expansion, and if you like it, you can be like, hey, put in this code when you sign up, and you can continue.
Hmm.
That could be a thing, because even then, the first expansion's like you're gonna have hundreds of hours of things to do,
Sure.
like depending on what they cut or what they like move around. So
Hmm.
that could be a thing. And that
Hmm.
seems like something that Square Enix did it, so it seems like something that they would do again. Um, but I'm just trying to see where the market is. Like I know the market's China, but
Yeah.
it's like it it's just kind of weird still.
Hmm.
Um, I just need to know what they're changing, like gameplay wise, or like fun, like just like how's it going to be different than in MMO, you know? Because
Sure.
mobile MMOs are very different than PC ones. They're
Mhm.
like fundamentally different. Like you click a button, your character walks to wherever, and the text scrolls by itself, and then you don't have to like do anything, right?
Mhm.
That's how it works. Works on phones. On PC, it's not that. So is it going to be that? Is like
Hmm.
I I don't know.
I'm not sure. Mhm.
It's just strange still, but that's something that Square Enix would do. So
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of mobile, one game, a relatively new mobile game that's a little bit over a month old, has been raking in the cash, and that would be Pokemon, the trading card
oh yeah, it's
TCG
crazy.
Pocket, surpassing over $200 million in its first month. Um, peaked at 8.4 million in daily player spending on November 22nd, which is less than a month. I mean, it's about a week and a half ago or so, right? So almost
Yeah.
now, but it's
And I think it
killer.
dethroned Minecraft from
Did it? Yeah.
the it dethroned not Minecraft, Roblox, I think, from
Mm,
like the number one, whatever was the number one free game on mobile for the last however like many years. It's not that anymore. It's this
mm.
game. So that's crazy.
It's massive in Japan. This is Japan
Oh
continues to
yeah.
be the game's biggest market, making it 42% at 90 million. The US is in second. Um, it dropped 27% from, revenue weekly, monthly,
Mhm.
whatever, to 58.2 million since it surpassed its $100 million in revenue. We are in the US, we can be very frugal with our money, especially since the game, whenever kids are playing these games, parents are kind of holding it lock and key, type of stuff. But it's funny because I've been playing it. I play it daily. I just do my dailies basically, and try to get open up a couple free packs of cards, and that's kind of it. There's still not a lot to do, and you don't get much from facing off against other people. It's like
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to go up against anybody unless I'm winning something. At least Marvel Snap always has new missions or prizes, or your earning ranking, that kind of stuff. And I think this game will get to that point eventually. Um, but it's not there yet. But I mean, $200 million in 1 month is just freaking, it's freaking bonkers. It
Yeah.
really is.
No, I think this game is really, it's scary for one thing. Like
Mhm.
if you're a person who likes to spend money on things that you like this
Mhm.
game is kind of like the perfect game for that because you're like, well, I got to get all of them, right? But
Yeah.
then also, if you're a person that likes to play card games in general, like if you like Magic, Marvel Snap,
Yeah.
whatever, if you just like that side of it, you're like, okay, I need to buy these packs so I can get the deck I want, and then you can,
Sure.
and then that aspect of it I think is really appealing because I like playing competitive card
Mhm.
games. So like playing as people in this game is so fun because the way they like trimmed the gameplay of the actual
Yeah.
card game down to being a lot more simplified has made it so the viable tactics for every deck are just to be as mean as you
Mhm.
can. And I love decks like that in general. Like I like playing decks that annoy people. So like the meta in this game is like, how can I be the most annoying person possible? And that's just
Yeah.
really fun. There's a lot of decks built around putting your opponent's Pokemon to sleep and then
Yes.
just
Yeah.
hitting them. And then like you can have your Pokemon on your bench. Like when your Pokemon aren't active, they're on a bench. You can use them to like flip a coin to put people to sleep, and then you can just
Yeah.
like attack. It's just like it's so fun. Like I know the other person's mad. That's what like
Yeah,
makes me happy.
there is a way to like mess with people too, is make your move, let those 40 seconds or whatever it is, let those essentially run out and make your move with 1 second left, because that will
Mhm.
annoy people. I have won several matches with folks not wanting to wait the whole time, so they'll just kind of quit. Even if they're
Yeah.
winning, they'll just kind of quit, that I'm taking so long. So you can mess with folks that way. I do think, I mean, there are obviously things they need to do that they're learning, and I'm assuming in the new year, sometime they'll be making those tweaks and adjustments over time. But I there were times early on where I didn't quite have good card packs, because you got to hand or a deck of 20 cards, right? And you really need to understand how to balance that and how to have the right cards always available, because some folks that you're playing against will um, they'll hop right into like attacks like immediately. Like the very first thing they'll do is they'll start loading up and attacking. And what's the kangaroo Pokemon, whatever that is.
Uh,
Yeah,
Kangaskhan. Yeah.
Kangaskhan. If you have that, like, it's difficult to break out. Like, that only requires one freaking use of energy, and you can just murder the opponent because you're just constantly flipping coins to take 30. I mean, you can take 60 H points away every freaking time. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's
So
a
it's fun.
my deck. It's a Dragonite deck
Okay.
with Drowsy, which is the one that puts people to
Nice.
sleep.
Nice.
So I was like Dragonite and Drowsy, and then when you have Dragonite, so you can put people to sleep from your bench. So I have
Uh-huh.
Drowsy just
Uh-huh.
putting people to sleep, and then I have my Dragonite attacking, and there's an attack called Draco Meteor that
Yeah.
like splits, like it has like it's like 140 attack, but it splits it um amongst three Pokemon
Oh
randomly.
yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just like, so if you put them to
Yeah.
sleep, they can't do anything. And then you
It
hit them,
can't
and
do
it's like it just like cycles all their guys. So it's like,
it's
yeah,
wild. Yeah.
it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. It's happened to me several times. That's why you have to be really wary of who you put in the bench,
Yep.
and balance that, because you don't want to put somebody in the bench and evolve them too quickly, because uh, you won't be able to pull them in if somehow your active Pokemon is knocked out, and you don't
Yeah.
whoever's evolved on your bench, you still need to get energy added to them. You can be pretty screwed. But no, there's some good metas going. This is it's real interesting because you know you don't have the same abilities as the actual Pokemon cards that are out there, right? There's definite differences, because they had to modify a lot of them
Yeah.
to get them to work in this game. So I do appreciate that. To the point where I am like freaking starting to hunt down some of the cards that I've been collecting in this game because it's just kind of a fun thing. But I do love the setup. I could totally see the money they're making because it's all about collecting. Like
Yeah.
other games are about playing. Marvel Snap is about playing. Um, even what's the Hearthstone is about playing.
Hearthstone, I play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Pokemon, this and even TCG Live, which isn't as big, but it's definitely more hardcore and more true to
Yeah.
the actual cards. Um, this is all about collecting, and I think
Yeah.
that's where the
That
monetary side of things is big.
That's what's so weird to me about this IP, right? Is
Yeah.
like the trading card side and the anime side of the IP understand it's about collecting and like these
Hmm.
Pokemon are your friends and like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
love them. But then on the video game side, like the mainline games, it's like that isn't even a thought in those
Uh-huh.
games, you know? Like they don't want you to care about your guys because they want you
Right.
to have to buy the game again to get the same guys to transfer over to the other game. It's
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
it's so weird that there's that disconnect between them. But
And
yeah,
what's interesting is I mean, I don't know how they'll do this, but I could see them linking Pokemon Home to this and having expanding Home into cards as opposed to just Pokemon. Like you'll have your Pokemon, the ones that you can bring back and forth
yeah,
into game, but you'll also have cards. Dude, if they put like a game like this into the next Pokemon game, the main line, like put a card game in the Pokemon game. That's all you freaking need is put a card game in there. It worked for everything else. But
they
you know,
used to
I
do that. Like in like red and blue, they had a
oh, did they
card
really?
game in there.
I didn't
Yeah,
even remember that. Yeah, yeah. The the interesting aspect is, people were saying, there's no. This is one of the first years where there's no mainline Pokemon game. I mean, it is. This is the
it's right
mainline.
here.
This is right here. This is the big Pokemon release, I should say, this year because $200 million in 1 month. This sucker could make and probably will make $1 billion in its first year. And I don't think Pokemon games generally. I'm not sure, but I don't know if they make $1 billion in a year. Maybe they do. I'm not sure.
Heck
Actually,
no.
they probably do because if they're retail for $60 and you're selling
True.
like 18 million in 1 year, and then there's DLC and all that, so they probably are close to $1 billion. But still, a mobile game, you're out to more people and all that crazy stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, it's big money. There it is. Pokemon continues to be Pokemon, and this game is doing gangbusters. And the very last thing that I wanted to just briefly touch on because I thought it was funny is that Switch 2
Oh
accessories are
yeah.
already being sold. You can't go a week without reporting on some Switch 2 stuff. Um, and I don't know if let me share this tab instead here. Come on, bam. Well, look, I'm on X where I'm never on X anymore.
The
But
everything
apparently,
app.
yeah, the everything. There you go. If you guys can see it. So these were shared on Alibaba. You can actually buy Switch 2 accessories that are supposedly based on the new console. You can tell it's definitely a bigger screen, quite a bit bigger, and you could see some of here's the comparison between the new and the old, and it's definitely a bigger thing. The back of these are all different uh different manufacturers that are showing up on Alibaba. So you have a couple different styles of whatever, but they're also a lot of them are including the stand thing on the back, which you kind of see, right? The controller has the little bump there, but apparently the new Switch 2 has a much bigger bump in the back,
Good.
and that's why we're seeing a lot of this stuff. But yeah, there's the screen size, and this is
I just
the
love their random Chinese guy. It's so funny.
yeah, this is the yeah, like he outs himself. It's just like, gee, I wonder who took this photo. Oh, dude, way to send the government. He has now been put in Nintendo jail. But I think this is the original Switch screen. I don't think it's the OLED, right? Probably the original Switch screen. Um, unless they did go to like a 9-inch Switch screen, because the OLED is a 7. So, but yeah, you can definitely tell it's bigger. I'm just more interested in like stuff like the notches, locations of certain things, and the design. But yeah, it's everybody, folks in like Digital Foundry and all the other places are saying, yeah, this is what everything they've heard about the Switch 2. This is what it is, and it is interesting that they're all calling it the Switch 2. And that may be just placeholder information because they don't have the actual name yet. That's why you're not actually seeing logos on a lot of
Switch
these.
2, it just works. Just call it the
Works.
Switch 2.
Yeah, it really does just work. I mean, it will sell much more than if you call it the rumored Switch attach and other stuff. So
yeah, they messed up with the Wii and the Wii U. I feel like they should have learned
yeah,
their
they
lesson
don't.
there.
They don't. So
Because
yeah,
it's so stupid.
if accessories are already up there for sale, an announcement is probably, I mean, still saying January. I'm still thinking January is when we're going to get this sucker announced, and probably really showing off in, probably showing off in January with a quick announcement, and then maybe something more substantial in like March. And then
March,
I
yeah.
think there are rumors, like one of the things that I was reading this morning or yesterday, whatever it was, I posted in Discord, but how supposedly Nintendo hasn't hit their goal yet for how many they want at launch. They want like 7 million available at launch because they don't want to have the backlog of people waiting. They want folks to dive right into this and this become their mainline Switch very quickly. So, and that's, I guess, is pushing the launch date into more of a May/June timeframe. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what is actually done. I mean, a lot of the games that are releasing now are coming to Switch, Switch 2. A lot of stuff that's been out the last couple of years is Switch 2. Everything feels like every rumor that everybody has heard, those games are probably coming to Switch 2. So but yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
My big concern is still what games are they gonna launch with.
yeah,
I think Mario Kart's the logical one, right?
it's a
But
logical one. It's the big one.
that's
Yeah,
not selling me the console. I want something for me. That's not for
yeah.
me.
And
If
Metroid
there
isn't
isn't a
necessarily for
Zelda, I'm
me
not gonna
either.
buy it.
Yeah, and there won't be
No, no.
unless it's Tears of the Kingdom with an expansion, right? I could see them pulling that. I could see them saying Tears of the Kingdom, up-res, or maybe like a 2-pack of Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, and the expansions for both, like all in one big package could be the way to
Hmm.
do it. But yeah, I think Mario Kart's a logical one. I think up-res versions of a couple games for sure, or at least being able to like deluxe, right? Um, Maybe some of the Nintendo games will actually work at some
Yeah.
point. It could be. Uh,
Maybe Pokemon can run at 30 frames a second.
yeah, well, that's right. Pokemon Z, whatever that game's coming out, and Metroid Prime 4. So, but I'm more interested in the stuff that has not been announced, which is like obviously there's a 3D Mario game coming that likely that first year. I wouldn't be surprised, and other stuff too. So, who knows? Who knows?
That Mario team has been quiet.
They
That
have
3D
been.
Mario team has been real quiet.
They did Bowser's Fury, and that was amazing. That is, it's funny because people do forget Bowser's Fury, and that came out like what 2021 or 2020, something like that. Yeah, 2021, and that was pretty awesome. And then it kind of like that's everything. Like people who haven't played Bowser's Fury, please do because it's
It's really
very
good.
it's if you liked Astrobot, you'll also like Bowser's Fury. Like Bowser's Fury is the future of 3D Mario, and it's everything Astrobot is too. But like a little bit more bite size, obviously, like a short, like 4-hour quest, 3-hour quest. But anyways, yeah, we'll see. It's I'm sure when we record next week, there'll be another leak. So who knows? Actually,
Yeah.
next week is the Game Awards, I think. So I'll be over. Is it next week? Shit, it is. So I'll be there.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. We'll have to figure out the drink along. Poor Sam last time was the only person, so I called in from the from from the theater. Um, as I was there. It's interesting to go to the Game Awards because um, it it's definitely focused on like it is the who's who of gaming. It's not like Summer Game Fest, which is more of industry stuff. This is definitely like you're gonna meet all the directors, all the producers, all the creative staff because they all do kind of show up there, and it's just it's like a little mini break for everybody. There's no work to be done really during summer game or during Game Awards, but yeah, except for the trailers, which is obviously, and I've heard of a couple trailers that are supposedly coming, but we'll see. Anywho's, let's move on to actual games that we're playing, and really this is the Zach show. He's got 3 games. Talk a little bit about one quick thing that I've been playing. I'll talk about that after. It is Zach related in a way, but I'm gonna let Zach go. And the first one is let me cue this up. He actually he's like the first one is this, second one is this, third one is this. I'll start with the first one because
Which one was it?
It's been a big year for horror games.
Oh yeah.
And so this game is a retro horror game. This is the release trailer that I'm showing here. Threshold.
Okay. Oh yeah. So basically, without talking a lot, if you can hear, there's lots of breathing.
Okay.
There's lots of like breathing going on. Well, I was hearing breathing because I had the trailer playing on my thing.
Okay, yeah, it's not playing here.
so it's like, but yeah. So basically, Threshold is like it's a really cool game. It's like it's very grounded, but also a little fantastical. So basically, you're a guy that gets a job working on the top of a mountain, and there's a train that goes through the mountain, and the altitude is so high it's hard to breathe. So you have these little canisters of air that you have to take in. And basically, the whole game is kind of built around you managing your air intake and kind of doing all these small little tasks around. And obviously, there's something creepy going on, but you can only start exploring that once you figure out the best way to like manage your air, to do all these things, and blah blah blah. So that's just kind of like the gist.
So you're kind of saying like the first things you do is you kind of go through the work aspect, and then you're using sort of those skills to when the strange stuff starts happening.
So before there's there's like a big horn over, and basically like there is a brake that holds the train, and it's programmed essentially to like release the brake when it hears someone blow a horn. And since it's only you working, you have to expunge your air, blow into the horn to make the train keep going, right? And once that happens, the train goes through, and then where the character is now, they drop off air canister tickets, so you can go exchange that for a ticket. So you have so you get the air and you blow it, and then you have kind of another, so like you have a time period, maybe 5 or 6 minutes between when the next train comes, and like so when you have to go blow into it again, right? So this is him getting another air canister. So basically you have that cycle constantly going, like, but as you're exploring around, you find more air canisters, you find other things to do, like weird things that kind of develop the lore. And yeah, it's just really cool. It's really cool, really weird. It's a pretty short game. I mean, short depending on how like well you can play and how quick you learn. But it's definitely like worth playing if you like these kind of weird first-person horror games. The cool thing,
like psychological horror, right? Is that kind of what it is?
It's like a really like psychological kind of social commentary sort of game. The thing I love about it the most is when you start up the game, it asks you what country you're from, and it says, "What country are you from?" This will affect how hard the game is. Like, so it's like, what country are you from? This will affect how hard the game is. If there's like 28 flags, you're like, oh God, like I guess I'm from America, and then
Oh
you click,
no.
and then like you spawn in, and like there's a shirt in your locker that says like "I Heart Washington" on it, and then
That's
and
amazing.
then if you start over, so then you start over, you pick a different country. Like I picked Japan, and then my shirt said "I Heart Tokyo." So
Okay.
it's like it just like changes according to what country you pick. I don't know how it affects the difficulty, but yeah, it's really interesting. It's it's one of those games that like you can play through yourself and be like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
that was cool. But then if you watch someone else play it, you could probably find things that you never found or see things that you've
Uh-huh.
never seen. Because there's a lot of ways that you have to manage that resource of your breath, you know. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. I don't know how much it is. It's
I think it's pretty
10
affordable. Yeah.
bucks. Yeah, I would say definitely get it. It yeah, it's just fun, man. There's a like every character is named after a color. There's like a purple guy, a yellow guy. You're the new you're the new yellow guy, so they call you yellow
Hmm.
guy. Um, and then like you'll be like messing around trying to like find stuff, and then the purple guy will be like, "Hey, I urge you to go to work." You're like, "Okay," and you just like go blow the horn, and then it's like everything is like back to normal. Yeah, it's really
Sweet.
definitely awesome.
Sweet. 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 Um, so you play another game that has
Oh yeah,
story, and that it's a sequel to a critically acclaimed game, and I think it came out like a year or so after the first one, and
yeah.
that is something like that, right? Rise of the Golden Idol.
Yeah, so the idol from the first game, it's back. It's cursing people. Uh, it's cursing people. It's the 70s, and that's the kind of the extent of it. If you've played the first game, you know how this works. You click around, you find words that are like keys,
Hmm.
and then you fill out a word puzzle, and it kind of like unfolds from there, which it's like very it sounds simple, which it is, but it's also very in depth of how you
Okay.
have to like click around and find things and then be like, oh, I found this word and I can use this to unlock this, to find this word, to use this to fill out my journal. You have a journal that'll tell you like kind of like it'll set up the crime scene,
Hmm.
and so you can fill out the words and you have to fill them out correctly or the game won't go forward. So you have to find clues and put words in there. The first game, I think, does it a lot better. I don't think this game is worse in any way, but it's just that charm from the first game isn't here because I think it's maybe because oh I've played this before, right? But
Mm.
also maybe it's the time setting that it's in. The modern is like
Oh,
there.
interesting.
You go through 20 different kind of cases, and you're this kind of like 70s detective, and everything's a little like wacky and like weird. It has like really extreme like what's the right word here? They're extreme British like 70s like secret agent
Hmm.
stuff, like humor, like that, like really weird specific brand of humor, like kind of like Austin Powers type stuff. It's just like it's kind of it's a little like oh I could do without that. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just I like the first game a lot more. I like
Mm.
the first game. I think the setting in the first game was really cool. It was like colonial America, and it was like a cursed idol. Whoa, that's cool. And this is like, oh, it's back, and it's the 70s. But yeah, it's kind of a hard game to recommend to people because it's like you have to be a specific type of person to like this kind of game. But if you like story games and
Hmm.
detective games and you played the first game, I don't see why you wouldn't like or want to play this one. If it's
So
your
like
first
more of the
time,
same? Is that like more of the same? Is kind of what you're saying?
yeah,
Different
it's
setting.
kind
Okay.
of more of the same. I just don't think the setting and the story in this one is as interesting as the first one,
Oh, it's compelling. Got it.
mostly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
They did
but yeah,
announce
if you're,
that there's like story DLC coming and a bunch of other things too.
That's just, I don't know. That just doesn't
Hmm.
work. I don't think
Hmm.
it works for this. The
Okay.
first game was like so singular. It just came out, was like boom, like everyone was playing it. It was like
Yeah.
highly critically reviewed game. And then this one's coming out, and it's like, okay. But there is a demo, so if you want
Yeah.
to check it out,
And
um,
if you have Netflix, you can download this game for free. This and the
yeah,
original one, the first one for free through Netflix on mobile
yep.
platforms. So that works.
Or if you want to play a game like this that is really good, you could play Disco Elysium
Oh yeah, you're big on Disco Elysium.
instead.
Pretty big game. Um, Another game you've been playing. Okay, I've got to preface this. The third and final game that you've been playing is the most story heavy game of them all, and I was surprised, that you know uh, just the tale that this tells about humanity, um, about one man getting blasted
And girl.
and girl. Yes, it's true. Um, a lot of blasting, anton blasting, some might say.
Anton, oh my gosh, dude. Antonblast is a story about a guy named Anton who's really mad, and that's kind of, so basically the game opens up and Satan's talking. He's like talking to his minions. He's like, "Ooh, who's the most red man of all time?" And then like his minions like, there's a guy named Anton is really red. And then he's like, "Give me his pigment now." And then they like come to your house and they steal your alcohol, and then you get really mad and you're like, "I need to get my alcohol back." And then you kind of do that.
Uh-huh.
So that's the story. But what I will say is the like, it's not the deepest story, but the character writing, because there's a lot of talking, not a lot of talking, but there's a lot
Mhm.
more dialogue in this game than there is normally in these sorts of games, and the writing is really good.
Hmm.
The game is hilarious. There are side characters you meet throughout levels that'll just say some really funny stuff.
Hmm.
There's a bartender who's kind of like, you go to his bar and he's like the hub city, like the hub for your adventures through all these
Mhm.
places. And he's the guy you stole the alcohol from, that Satan stole from you. So you go to him and you're like,
Hmm.
"Hey man, I'm sorry, your alcohol got stolen." And he's like, "Oh, I don't want you back in here." And he's like, "Well, if you let me stay here, I'll give it back to you when I'm done." And he's like, "Okay." So I was like, yeah. So there's that. There's really interesting like history between some characters and stuff. There's a lot of just like, there's really just like cute little like sprinklings of things that make you go, "Oh, this is a real guy." Like, "Oh, this is a real thing." Um, but yeah, the story isn't really the main thing. I just think it's cool.
Right.
But the gameplay is crazy. If you played Wario Land 4, and like
Mhm.
Pizza Tower recently, this game is those games, but times 10. It's crazy. It kind of ramps it up, and it adds things to the mechanics of the Wario Land and Pizza Tower, whatever genre, that makes it unique. Where you're like, "Oh, I had like." It's not like, "Oh, I've played Wario Land before. This is Wario Land." It's like, "Oh, this is the next kind of step in that genre if you
Mhm.
wanted to go even further." So there's a lot of, so it's like, if you've never played a Wario Land game before, or Pizza Tower, essentially you're going through levels, and you have a like bash button where you kind of like ram into people with Anton Blast. You can keep pressing it and it'll just keep going forward faster and faster and faster. And inside your dash, you can jump or you can hit bad guys and just keep kind of like going. So you're constantly going fast and maneuvering, going crazy. And then he has this like, so when you're dashing, you get your combo meter goes up, so you get bigger points. So there's also that kind of aspect to it. There's a point arcadey kind of aspect to like getting the best score. If you're into that, the game isn't focused on that, which is nice,
Hmm.
but you can make it focus on that if you want to. So you're kind of going through fast, getting a high score. And then there's also a lot of secret things you can break. So you can like break a wall, like, oh, there's a thing over here. And so there's all these obstacles, like you can duck, where you turn into a bowling ball, you'll duck, spin into a bowling ball, hit some pins. You can like crouch and jump and do a little like dash jump thing. There's a lot of cool movement mechanics within these levels. It's all kind of built around you being really fast, and also the game kind of throwing these fun little puzzles in front of you as you're going through. Also, he has a hammer, right? This is the coolest thing. He has a hammer, and if you jump and hit the attack button at the same time, he pulls out his hammer and he starts spinning. And then if you press the attack button before you hit the ground, you can jump with it, so you can keep kind of spinning. So there's some walls that'll bounce you off if you do that. So you have to be like, okay, I'm running, jumping, hitting with the hammer, hitting again so I can jump off the wall. There's all these fun little obstacles where you have to keep thinking about how you're playing the game. And the level design is constantly switching it up on you. So there's always something to consider as you're going forward. But if you've played a Wario Land game before, once you get to the end, you have to run all the way back to the start.
All the way back, yeah.
So what's really cool about this game is the level feels like a completely different level on the way back because you've destroyed things on the way forward. So if you're aware of this, you can be like, I'm not going to break this. I might need it later. So, okay, I'm going to like hit this one a little bit and jump over it so I can save that, so I can use, because clearly I'm going to have to jump from here to here, right? So it's like, if you have that mindset, you can do that to set yourself up when you're running back. There's so many instances of that. There's one where it's like, it's a bunch of crates, and then there's these other crates that are green. If you hit them, you die immediately. As you're going through, you could hit the crates to knock down the green crates if you wanted to. But
I remember that part from the demo that I played.
But if you don't and you're going back, you're gonna hit it and you're gonna die. So it's like, it's so fun. But yeah, so the game is really interesting in a way that it allows you to so you play the level through the first time, and it gives you enough room to kind of like breathe and like explore and have fun and look around. But then after that, if you're a type of player who wants to do a time attack mode or a score attack mode or whatever mode, there's a time attack, score attack, maybe a collectathon mode. I'm not remembering, but you can like go back into the map and be like, I'm gonna do arcade mode and get the highest score. So there's a lot of replayability if you're a person who is wanting to do arcade mode and be like, I want to get the highest score on the leaderboard, or I want to get everything in the map, or I want to defeat it. I want to beat this map as fast as I can. That's really cool. So yeah, it's awesome. It's really, really sick.
I love that you can go into and out of like the background and the foreground.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that's another core.
It's a huge gameplay feature.
Yeah, you can jump between the foreground and the background of the map. So the maps are kind of designed to be like going back and forth. Tons of puzzles where you're bouncing between here to destroy stuff, to jump up here, to go forward here. And then,
way more than the Mario games do. Like that's sort of a novelty. This is an actual part of the gameplay.
Yeah. So, and then there's also times because the game essentially is like each stage is like 3 stages in one, because there's the foreground, and then there's the background, which is 1 essentially. Then there's the going forward to the end, then going from the end to the beginning. So there's 3 different stages, and the way that it just kind of like organically changes as you're playing through the level is just like it's really enthralling. It's super engaging, because I can find platformers to be kind of boring, because it's like, okay, I know exactly. I know I have to jump here and do this, and then oh, I jumped a little too late. I'm dead. That's just kind of like a basic platformer. But with here, there's so much freedom to how
Sure.
you can approach to play it. So it's like, okay, I dashed here, but I could also dash and attack and then jump here and go up a little higher and go over here instead. Like there's just like, but there's also, you got to think about it within the second. Like it's like your brain's firing like super fast. So there's like so many seconds where you have to like decide.
Hmm.
So if you die, you're like, okay, well, I kind of know what to do, and you just kind of adjust every second as you're going forward. Like I pressed
Hmm.
dash a little too many times. Maybe I should hold back a bit and do this instead. It's just yeah, it just feels so satisfying to play through. Um, and it's definitely better than Pizza Tower, like because Pizza Tower was awesome.
Yeah, it's an
But,
awesome game.
thi-
Yeah, yeah.
but this just feels like way more fleshed out, way more like Pizza, because Pizza Tower was just a Wario Land kind of game, and it
Hmm.
wasn't anything beyond that. But this feels like, oh, this is like that plus something original,
Hmm.
plus the art is like looks like a Nickelodeon like hand drawn cartoon. It looks awesome.
Sure.
The voice acting is really good. The music's really good. The level, my microphone fell. The level design is really good. Like it's just I don't know. It's kind of the full package, and I'm pretty sure it's on the Switch too,
Yeah,
and
Steam and Switch.
it works on the Steam Deck as well.
Perfect
Um,
handheld game, man. Perfect hand. But this the kind of game that you want to see on a bigger screen too.
mhm. It's yeah, it's really fun to look at. Like the
Yep.
art is crazy.
Nice.
Um,
Out now.
yeah, I love it a lot, and it's also a game that these devs have worked on for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. In fact, I think I heard
uh,
about this before Pizza Tower, and then Pizza Tower came out, and I was like, "Wow, why do
yeah,
we need another one?" I mean, why
yeah,
why Anton Blast is going to be forgotten about? 'Cause it's been so long. Well, then all of a sudden this comes out. I started
yeah.
playing some of the demos in places. I'm like, "Oh shit, this is really cool."
I was in
Nice.
the same boat too.
Okay.
Like, cause like Pizza Tower was developed for pretty much the same amount of time, maybe a little bit longer. But both of these games kind of like exploded at the same time,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially.
They
One had
blasted at
a
the same time.
one
Thank you.
had a Kickstarter.
Hmm.
Anton Blast had a Kickstarter. Pizza Tower didn't.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just so I was kind of worried for Anton Blast. I'm like, if Pizza Tower, like, it's so good,
Hmm.
how is Anton Blast going to differentiate itself? And it
Sure.
does. It does it very well. It's like where it does a good job of distancing itself from it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, what it
Awesome.
costs like $20. Come on, like
Yeah.
that's cheap, and you can plug in your arcade stick if you have one and play it on an arcade stick.
That's cool. That's a nice addition
Yeah.
if you wanna play this arcade style for sure.
Mhm.
Nice. Cool. Well, I have been playing something, uh, that, finally getting the chance to play. Speaking of handhelds, we talked a little bit the last couple weeks about the PlayStation Portal stuff that was happening on a couple
Oh.
of podcasts, and, I thought, I have not been able to play my PS5 because 2020 very much changed how I game. Now, like when COVID first hit, we were all in our houses full time, and so I I was in front of a TV the whole time. So I hooked up the TV. I had my PS5 on the TV when the PS5 came out or PS4 or whatever, and I played stuff on the large screen. Well, as things started to shift and I became more and more like, I don't want to be away. Like, I'm in front of this TV, but I don't want to really be away from my family. Like, we have two floors in our house, and so the gaming stuff is up on the upstairs TV, and down here is just family time TV. Like when we're down here, like we're not all gathered around watching God of War, right? It's we're watching something that all three of us or a couple of us at
Oh.
least want to watch, right? Um, so that's why the Switch and the Steam Deck have been so like perfect for me, because I've been able to do portable gaming while I'm still hanging with the family and I'm still connected and I'm still social. Like, it's been a big part of my life, right? Especially now that I'm getting older. So I thought I want to get back into the PS5 because I have a little bit of a backlog of PS4 and PS5 games. Not as much as like my other consoles, but I got to get through them. And I was hesitant on getting the Portal. I got the Portal. I was hesitant because I thought, it's $200, man. It's $200, and all it does is do what my phone already does, which is stream PlayStation games. All I have to do is get a controller, which I can just use my PlayStation 5 controller already. It's trying to sneak in some God of War time, baby. So, why bother? I have one of these things already that can stream. Well, I mean, you still got to kind of drop it in. You got to get the connection. There's a little bit more of a process to actually get stuff streaming on phones for remote play. So I ended up in a weird twist of fate. I ended up going to take a test drive that one of the local dealerships was offering, and you can get a $50 gift card for a test drive. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I got a free $50 gift card just for test driving a car. Cool, no problem. Well, then Best Buy, somehow I must have earned enough Best Buy cash over the last year or whatever, because they sent me a $25 gift card. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm kind of sitting on these, or whatever, gift certificate. I'm sitting on these like $75 worth of Best Buy gift cards. I'm like, should I get new games? I'm like, I can't keep buying new games. I'm not going to buy a game.
You gotta actually play them at some point.
Exactly. I got to play them at some point. And so a couple weeks back, they were selling used PlayStation, or they're selling used PlayStation Portals for like $155. I'm like, man, I wonder if they have that floating around. Well, they didn't have a used one for $155. They had a used one for like $163. And I thought, okay, I can get this guy for under $100. Let me see what other points I have. And I actually had like points through like those Honey apps and Shop. I have all these stupid points and gift cards. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put these suckers to use. So I'm not actually. It like in total, this thing ended up being like $47. So I was able to knock. It's just one of those things where over the year you're collecting reward points and all kinds of stuff and not realizing.
I think that's about what it's worth. So you're doing pretty
I
good.
think you're right. So I'll talk about my experience with it right after I talk about the design of it. It's actually comfortable because it's an actual game controller, but it's comfortable, but I'm leaving it at that, comfortable to hold, because the user interface of this thing is garbage. It's hot garbage. the buttons here up top, here's the power button, and this is just there's a little tiny connection button if you have the PlayStation Link. It's hard to see. If you have the PlayStation Link like headset, there you go. Yeah, that's all that's for. And then on the other side, you have the two volume buttons. Well, guess what? It's very difficult to see. One says plus, one says minus. It's also all behind the ridge here, which is like, in order to reach it, I have to go behind the screen and tap on the ridge, and it's hard to kind of figure out where those are. At least with the Switch and the Steam Deck, it's just sitting on top, man.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah,
it's right there. So I can't tell what it is. The only way, because this is all this is a TV. You can't use these buttons to do anything with this. None of these buttons do anything. There are no buttons specific to this apart from the power and the volume buttons. The only way to access the settings, like connect to your network, connect to the PlayStation 5, is it's a touch screen. So they put money into, instead of having an extra button, a tiny little button over here, they made this a touch screen, and you have to swipe to be able to get to the settings. That is legit the only way you can get to the setting. So you swipe, and there's like Wi-Fi and like that's basically it. There's only like one or two settings. So just yes, thank you. Just from an interface standpoint, you know me, I'm big on interfaces and experiences. Poor. I don't like the design of it because I cannot wait till Sony finally abandons the tuxedo. Yeah, get your money back. I can actually. I can go back to Best Buy and say give my $100 back. The I can't wait for Sony to get rid of the tuxedo look because I think it's extra needed and unnecessary stuff that
That's why I
all
have
it
a
do.
black controller.
Yeah, there you go. No, for sure. Get a third-party controller because they will 100% look better than the Sony controllers. So I'm not a fan of that. And there's like little lights on the side here when the sucker let me see if I can power this guy up. When the sucker powers up, you can see it becomes a portal. Okay, this goes in. So you see the blue lights on the controllers here, which no reason to have those. Don't need it. There's a portal, by the way. It's slowly connecting to my PlayStation 5 upstairs through remote play within my house through Wi-Fi. I found that to be a horrific experience because I have Xfinity, and I other people are telling me no, it works really well, and blah blah. I do not have a separate router. I've been using the Xfinity router, and that is definitely my big problem. Is I need to get an actual router, kind of like you do, because you're really grainy in your video there, which is okay. I can't hook up my. See, it still says connecting. It still says
No,
connecting.
hey, I'm grainy because my camera's like 8
Oh,
years
okay. At
old.
least there's that. At
So
least there's that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's still connecting here. The I'm gonna let it sit there until it actually connects. But you really need to have a fantastically strong and smart network to get this stuff to run. When I first did it, it was like a 4-second delay. I was trying to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, tap over, and then Cloud would go. Like seconds later, I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be. Does not work. I was losing it. I ended up having to go into. It's still trying to freaking connect. It should not be connecting that long. My Wi-Fi router is like right on the other side of this wall. That's how bad it is. My PlayStation is upstairs, and I don't have landlines up there. Which everyone says, oh, you really should hook up your PlayStation to landline. Listen, buddy, not all of us are rich. Yeah, my house has 2 floors, but there's nothing in that second floor. I couldn't afford an extra wire. Okay, thank you very much. So my PlayStation is up there away from the router. Great job connecting. I was really hoping to actually play. So I went through a few things. I did I ended up doing a bunch of port forwarding. I forced the PS5 to get into. Yeah, can't connect to your PS5. Thanks. I forced the PS5 to do 5 gigahertz to try to get it in a separate band. And okay, now it's starting. There we go. Okay, I am now officially in Final Fantasy VII. Once I did that, it wasn't as bad. It was starting to work. Like I said, you had to be really fidgety. So it's actually pretty functional, which is actually really nice. I'm kind of yeah. It's streaming the video, not the game, but it works. But it took some finagling with my system, and I can't imagine a regular person out there. I hate the user interface of the PS5. I can't imagine a regular person out there knowing to do that because it's a lot of work to go in and get your settings done. The majority of people have just the Xfinity router or have the router through the company that their ISP provides the stuff, and so they don't necessarily go out and get a new one because why would you? You're already getting the max from that router. Well, it's a lot more work to get stuff like this to happen. Now I don't have the premium, so I can't do the. Let me shut this sucker off. So I can't do the cloud streaming, which I've heard is the beta is now live, so you can actually stream like 120 plus games, which is kind of cool. Which means, from that standpoint, if you have the PlayStation Plus Premium, and you buy one of these suckers, this is a fully working streaming console, because it's just streaming games from the cloud. Now, I've heard from folks that have used just the cloud stuff that it's ripping way better than what Xbox is doing, speed wise. So I remember Sony ended up buying like 5 different cloud providers and just kind of all the crap together. Xbox still has to go through their own internals to do that. So yeah, I mean you can actually have like a PlayStation 5 console get a used one for $160 if you have Best Buy gift cards, even cheaper, and the PlayStation Plus Premium. It's actually kind of a good deal when you think about it. I'm not going to play multiplayer gaming, but as a single player gaming thing, it's actually work out pretty well. All your saves transfer, so you can actually load up saves that way too. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I've actually put hours into Final Fantasy VII Remake and a couple other games that I had, some indies that I had sitting there. So it's working. So I'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm getting a new modem, a new Wi-Fi router is arriving tomorrow, Thursday, for the folks that are just viewing this later, which is supposedly faster. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, PlayStation Portal. That's my experience with it.
Did you know you could also do that with your Steam Deck as well?
Can you Steam or stream PlayStation stuff? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Might have to take a look at that then. Because I did that with I did the Xbox Cloud stuff through the Steam Deck, because you load the secondary through Linux and stuff in there.
Yeah, you can do it with the
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it with the PlayStation, and you can also do it with your computer games too. And I think it works.
I've played to my computer pretty well, actually. Yeah,
it works pretty well. Yeah,
I did it with the PS4 actually a while back, and I was surprised at how well it worked with the PS4 remote play. Remember, you used to be able to use the Vita as a remote play device.
I was just thinking about that.
I
was just thinking about how that works way better than this.
Yeah, man. I definitely blame Comcast a part of it. One thing I will say is the hardened supporters will say things like, just use your phone's mobile hotspot. It'll be better than using Comcast. And it probably is. I don't know, but they say it works great for them, but I'm skeptical because I have, I don't know how strong my mobile connection will be as a hotspot. So, and it'll just kind of soak up my mobile data as well. Anywho, I'll have more of a report in the next couple of weeks as I spend more time with this sucker. Not super impressed just yet, but hey, apparently it's selling like hotcakes. So who am I? Who am I to make? Yeah,
that's so weird.
Sony's been super happy with the sales, and they have a black one coming out. They just had the gray one that they released, the classic, I think so. But make one that looks like a Vita, and you'll have people buying this thing like crazy just from the looks alone.
Zach, one that looks good.
Make one that looks and works good. Zach, it's been give me just a Vita size. Like, just make it a Vita. Like, give me the Vita case and let it stream. It's been awesome to chat with you today, my dude.
Yep.
I thought it was gonna be a short one, but it was an hour. It's still like 4 hours shorter than what we would do with JJ.
Pretty short.
Still pretty short. Yeah, we got through a ton of games. And I think now, ladies and gentlemen, I think you are now zero amount of games you are reviewing, right? I don't think you have anything at the moment. Cool.
I'm free.
Send us all the review codes so that Zach can take on those next ones. Trust me, I will send things to you. I have 15 Infinite Nikki codes that I can.
I just got another one. I just looked at my.
Yeah, I know. I saw the email. It's like, please. It's out now. Yes, we know it's out now.
You got a 9 from IGN.
Oh, great.
Which is kind of making me want to be like, huh? Okay, maybe.
I mean, it's free to play, whatever. All right. You can find us in the SideQuesting Discord. You find us in Blue Sky and everywhere else. And find us in your hearts. SideQuesting TV all over the place, YouTube, Twitch. I think we're SideQuesting TV on Blue Sky, but I'm going to switch it to the sidequesting.com thing. I just got to do it over the weekend, maybe. To be verified that way. Yeah. With that said, see you on the next episode of The SideQuest. Toodles, bye-bye. Ho, ho, ho.